This is the Infinite Moment Podcast, where we discuss topics that focus on stress relief solutions. Welcome to another episode of the Infinite Moment Podcast. Today we're discussing fear of the unknown, which is an exciting topic to me because ever since I've heard about this concept and this reality, it has been interesting to me that something that is feared the most is something that is so uncertain or unsure. So we'll dive into what that really means. We'll break it down and see how it affects our decisions, our thoughts, levels of anxiety, and overall mental and emotional states. Of course, we're going to take a look at several different articles to find supporting info and just information in general to help us dive into this topic today. I'm also going to take a self-assessment test to look at my own or assess my own levels of fear when it comes to unknown or uncertain potentials. So in addition to speaking on fear of the unknown, we'll also be talking a little bit about anxiety and overall mental well-being. Keep in mind that we all have different fears and behaviors and responses when it comes to the unknown. It's a survival mechanism in a way that tries to protect us from harm, potential harm. But when it becomes rampant or ever present, then it actually can cause us harm. So today we want to really take a look at what it means to be in fear of the unknown, how to hopefully overcome it, and what the benefits of overcoming it will be. Be sure to head over to dissolvestress.com, where right now you can use coupon code TAKEOFF30 to receive 30% off. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into our first article of the day. This article here is from choosingtherapy.com, and it was published March 15th, 2023. Fear of the unknown: causes, signs, and how to overcome. Persistent or chronic fear of the unknown, also known as xenophobia, can be problematic and can impact your emotional, social, and physical life as seriously as any phobia might. Lack of predictability and control can be contributing factors to fear. If little information is available to predict an outcome or make a decision, this can increase feelings of anxiety and uncertainty. Why do we fear the unknown? Research indicates that humans have different levels of intolerance uncertainty, a naturally developed characteristic. People with high levels of intolerance uncertainty might find unknown or uncertain situations almost unbearable or have an inability to cope, impacting their ability to function. Sometimes a fear of the unknown can be closely related to a fear of change. Levels of fear can also be situational and based on affective personality traits like neuroticism and temperament, past experiences and trauma, and ability to adapt and cope. Fear of the unknown symptoms. When triggered, someone with xenophobia might experience symptoms like increased heart rate or adrenaline, both of which can hold you back from living life to the fullest. However, the signs and symptoms don't stop there. Here are several symptoms that can arise when you fear the unknown. Increased heart rate, increased adrenaline leading to a fight, flight, or freeze response. Irritability, need to control your environment, avoiding new situations, avoiding school, work, social obligations, isolating behaviors, eroding self-esteem, highly self-critical, need for constant reassurance from others, inflexible behaviors or thoughts, ruminating thoughts. So who is at a greater risk for experiencing the fear of the unknown? Experiencing fear of the unknown is common. However, research reports that fear of the unknown has a foundational role in several mental health diagnoses. Mental health diagnoses that put someone at greater risk of experiencing fear of the unknown include anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, eating disorders, depression, substance use disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder. Fear of the unknown can be experienced by children and adolescents too. One of the most prevalent diagnoses among children and adolescents is an anxiety disorder. Research shows that untreated anxiety in adolescents also increases the risk factor for mental health problems later in life. For many people, COVID-19 has created or exacerbated a fear of the unknown. In general, the pandemic has created a lack of predictability and control, two factors that when lost can worsen fear of the unknown. How to tell if you have fear of the unknown. If you are wondering if you have an unrealistic fear of the unknown, ask yourself the following questions. Does my fear of the unknown almost always provoke intense anxiety or panic attacks? Do I usually avoid any type of situation that is unfamiliar or maybe unpredictable? In cases when I couldn't avoid an uncertain situation, did I endure excruciating and unbearable anxiety? Is my fear and reaction unreasonable or exaggerated in comparison to the actual source that causes my excessive worry? How long have I been feeling this chronic dread of the unknown? Has it been persistent for at least 6 months? Is severe phobia of the unknown holding me back in life, preventing me from functioning well and or negatively impacting work, school, or relationships? If you have been experiencing these symptoms in an intense and or sustained manner and noticing that it's hindering your life as a result, you may be living with a chronic fear of the unknown or xenophobia. When a fear of the unknown becomes a problem, fear of the unknown often causes unhealthy thoughts and an intense emotional discomfort towards uncertainty. This can be a problem when it impedes someone's ability to adjust to ordinary changes, meet important milestones, expand personal growth, or even walk away from unacceptable circumstances. Someone's fear is starting to hold them back when trying life-changing endeavors are off limits, like going to college, traveling, dating, etc. They stay complacent in unfulfilling jobs or relationships. They pass on a great job opportunity, promotion, or anything else that requires getting out of their comfort zone. They isolate and reject invitations, particularly when they involve going to new venues or meeting new people. They avoid beneficial personal, professional, academic demands such as taking on more complex responsibilities, challenging projects, learning new skills, etc. Let's go through these 13 ways they list to overcome the fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown can be managed and alleviated through individual work, seeking the support of trusted individuals, seeking support of a therapist, or some combination of these methods. Recognizing, accepting, and working toward challenging fear of the unknown takes time, consistency, and adjusting strategies to find what works best. Timelines and progress will work different for each individual, so be sure to focus and celebrate your success. Here are the 13 ways to overcome the fear of the unknown. Number 1, don't give in to avoidance. The longer you avoid a situation, the harder it can become to engage. Avoidance provides temporary relief, but in the long term, it can be damaging. Take steps to re-engage yourself so it feels more manageable. Number 2, understand the causes of your fears. A good place to start dissolving your xenophobia is by examining what lies beneath it. Sometimes chronic fear can stem from lacking enough information, associating with discomfort, feeling a loss of control, past trauma, and negative life experiences. Consider delving deeper into what may be causing or factoring into your overwhelming fear of the unknown. Getting to the root of your fear can bring your awareness and direct you toward the areas you need to work through so you can overcome your fears. Number 3, utilize mindful techniques to reduce fearful responses. Meditation, mindfulness, focusing on the here and now, and practicing positive thinking can help reduce feelings of worry and anxiety. Number 4, increase your self-esteem. Practice positive affirmations, give grace to yourself, and set realistic expectations. Increasing your self-esteem will help build confidence to cope with the fear of the unknown. Number 5, challenge negative thought patterns. Evaluate the evidence there is to support and disprove the fear, what skills you have to reduce the fear, and what is within your control. Number 6, increase your tolerance of uncertainty. Practice accepting uncertainty and unknowns by learning new coping skills, remembering past successes, and accepting the limits of your control. Number 7, accept that you will fail sometimes. Accepting that you will fail sometimes is part of life and personal growth. It doesn't mean that you are settling, it's simply saying, I failed, it's okay. Next time I'll do better. I failed, so what can I do to improve? Or accept this setback as a part of my journey. Admitting that failure is inevitable can help you transform it into opportunities with grace and humility. Having this mindset is simultaneously forgiving and empowering because you're allowing yourself the space to learn while using failure as a tool moving forward. Number 8, boost your emotional intelligence. Having a better understanding of our emotions can help develop ways to recognize, use, and manage our emotions to reduce worry and fear. Number 9, practice regular self-care. Engage in activities that promote healthy mental, physical, and emotional well-being, such as resting, self-compassion, scheduling social or leisure time, and engaging in enjoyable activities. Number 10, reach out to a friend. Verbalizing fears of the unknown to a trusted person can help reduce anxiety and worry. A trusted friend can help challenge the fear, suggest coping strategies, or provide support by listening. Number 11, find small ways to embrace change. Finding small ways to embrace change can lessen your fear of uncertainty. This tactic can train your brain to slowly warm up to possible hurdles down the road or navigating uncharted territory. You can start by incorporating tiny modifications to your daily routines, like taking an alternative route home, switching up a workout routine, or learning a new skill. Gradually introducing new things or altering certain habits can strengthen your resiliency when the unpredictable happens. Number 12, go to therapy. Licensed mental health professionals can provide a safe space to process and challenge fears, as well as develop new skills to reduce fear of the unknown. And number 13, attend group therapy. Allow for support and encouragement from other group members who have experienced similar struggles. Group therapy also builds a support network of people who can suggest helpful strategies. So from that article, we now understand a little bit about fear of the unknown. We understand that it comes out of a natural process, which is our fight or flight response to try and protect ourselves from dangers, things that would potentially cause us harm. But what happens is when our mechanism that controls that starts to run too often and over fears that aren't legitimately going to cause us harm, then it moves into a realm of becoming unhealthy. And, fearing unknown situations often enough can be quite unhealthy. Can lead to things such as anxiety disorders, panic disorders, PTSD, can cause heart rate problems and low self-esteem. Many negative outcomes and mindsets can come from, fear of the unknown, as well as not just the mind, but your physical health, the health of your physical body. I think a lot of us run on what I would call like autopilot fear, where we might not even consciously realize we're in fear, but all of our behaviors and thoughts and emotions would suggest that we're in fear. The choices we make, the things we do. So the first goal is to understand if you're feeling fear or panic, to understand why and where it's coming from in the first place. And if you literally can't trace it out and you're fear of something that you're unaware of, then you have to ask yourself why. And if you want to do something about it, then that's when you start determining what you want to do. Whether that's talking to a specialist, someone who's trained to deal with mental, psychological states and things like that, like a psychologist, or group therapy, where you can potentially bond and share experiences with others who have been through what you've been through. Sometimes you may just need to talk to a friend. There are many different ways to approach how to deal with fear of the unknown, and that was just a few there. So we're going to get on to the next article, and then after that, we're going to actually do a self-assessment. I'm going to see where I am when it comes to fear of the unknown. This article is from the Harvard Business Review. It's titled, How to Overcome Your Fear of the Unknown. It's by Nathan Furr and Susanna Harmon Furr. Humans are wired to fear the unknown. That's why uncertainty, whether at the macro level of a global economic, health, or geopolitical crisis, or at the micro level, such as will I get that job, will this venture be successful, am I on the right career path, can feel nerve wracking, exhausting, and even debilitating. However, that gut reaction leads people to miss a crucial fact. Uncertainty and possibility are two sides of the same coin. Consider the achievements you're most proud of, the moments that transformed your life, the relationships that make your life worth living. Well, I bet they all happened after a period of uncertainty, one that probably felt stressful, but that you nevertheless pushed through to accomplish something great. When we move abroad, for example, we face uncertainty about making less money, paying higher taxes, doing more challenging work, and introducing our children to new schools, a new language, and a new culture. But 7 years later, we are so grateful for all the possibilities the move opened up. Our modern day heroes all have a similar story. Rosa Parks faced great uncertainty when she refused to give up her seat, igniting the Montgomery bus boycott and paving the way for desegregation. Nearly everyone initially thought that Elon Musk and his team would fail when they set out to revolutionize electric vehicles and push the world toward a more environmentally friendly future. They couldn't have achieved their breakthroughs if they had been afraid of uncertainty. Yeah, that's to be debated. Those batteries, I'll tell you what. Uncertainty doesn't have to paralyze any of us. Over the past decade, we have studied innovators and changemakers who've learned to navigate it well, and we've reviewed the research on topics like resilience and tolerance for ambiguity. The findings are clear. We all can become adept at managing uncertainty and empower ourselves to step confidently into the unknown and seize the opportunity it presents. Applying the following four principles will help you do that. Number one, reframe your situation. Most people are loss averse. Multiple studies demonstrate that the way you frame things affect how you make decisions. The research shows, for instance, that if one treatment for a new disease is described as 95% effective and another as 5% ineffective, people prefer the former, even though the two are statistically identical. Every innovation, every change, every transformation, personal or professional, comes with potential upsides and downsides. And though most of us instinctively focus on the latter, it's possible to shift that mindset and decrease our fear. One of our favorite ways of doing this is the infinite game approach, developed by New York University professor James Carse. His advice is to stop seeing the rules, boundaries, and purpose of the game you're playing, the job you're after, the project you've been assigned, the career path you're on, as fixed. That puts you in a win or lose mentality in which uncertainty heightens your anxiety. In contrast, infinite players recognize uncertainty as an essential part of the game, one that adds an element of surprise and possibility and enables them to challenge their roles in the game's parameters. Yvon Chouinard, the co-founder of Patagonia, is an infinite player. As a kid, he struggled to fit in, running away from one school, almost failing out of a second, and becoming a dirtbag climber after he graduated. But rather than seeing himself as a failure, he recounts in his book, Let My People Go Surfing, he learned at an early age that it's better to invent your own game, then you can always be a winner. Chouinard not only created one of the world's most successful outdoor apparel brands, but also changed production norms by adopting more sustainable materials, altered the retail model by refitting old buildings for new shops, and challenged traditional HR policies by introducing practices like on-site childcare. Some of these innovations created uncertainty for the business. For example, Patagonia adopted organic cotton before it became popular, when it was expensive and hard to source. When a financial downturn hit, outsiders encouraged the company to buy cheaper materials, but using organic cotton was in keeping with its values, so Patagonia persisted, despite the cost and the supply risk, and in the end, grew its sales while its competitors saw their sales fall. Chouinard has learned to face uncertainty with courage, and in fact to be energized by it, because he views his role as improving the game, not just playing it. Managers of a business that want to be around for the next 100 years had better love change, he advises in his book. When there is no crisis, the wise leader will invent one. Of course, when uncertainty is forced upon us, we often need help reframing. Consider Amy and Michael, a professional couple with 4 children who moved from the United States to France in 2017 for Michael's job. When the pandemic started, his position was eliminated, and then companies that initially promised him job offers started stalling. In July 2020, Amy and Michael were scheduled to fly home to the United States, but 3 days before they left, they still didn't have jobs or even a place to live. Family and friends were asking for updates, and their teenagers harangued them. "You're the worst parents ever. How can you have no clue where we're going next?" 2 days before their flight, Amy confided to us over lunch that Michael had been offered a job, but neither of them wanted him to accept it. "Should we just take the bird in hand?" she wondered aloud. "I feel like we are such losers." We encouraged her to reframe. She and Michael were showing resilience and bravery by exploring all possible next steps and holding out for the right one. How lucky their kids were to have parents bold enough to know what they really wanted and wait for it. The couple returned to the States with curiosity and courage, and by summer's end, had both found jobs they loved as well as a fixer-upper home in a fun location. Number 2, prime yourself for new risk. Although innovators often talk about eating uncertainty for breakfast, if you dig deeper, you discover some curious habits. When Paul Smith, a designer known for daring color combinations, travels, he always stays in the same hotel, often in the same room. Others we've studied book the same airplane seat for every flight, follow the same morning routine, or wear the same clothes. Steve Jobs had a lifetime supply of black turtlenecks. All those habits provide balance by reducing uncertainty in one part of your life. They prime you to tolerate more of it in other parts. Some people ground themselves with steady long-term relationships, for instance. As a serial entrepreneur, Sam Yagan, one of Time's 100 most influential people and the former CEO of Match.com, explains, "My best friends are from junior high and high school. I married my high school sweetheart. Given how much ambiguity I traffic in at work, I do look for less in other areas of my life." You can also prime yourself for uncertainty by getting to know the kinds of risk you have a natural aversion to or affinity with. Just as important, you can increase your risk tolerance by taking smaller risks, even in unrelated fields. Number 3, do something. Taking action is one of the most important parts of facing uncertainty, since you learn with each step you take. Research by Timothy Ott and Kathleen Eisenhart demonstrates the most successful breakthroughs are produced by a series of small steps, not giant bet-the-farm efforts. Starting modestly can be more effective and less anxiety-provoking than trying to do everything at once. When Jen Hyman and Jenny Fleiss, the founders of Rent the Runway, first had the idea of renting out designer dresses online, they were students at Harvard Business School. But they didn't begin by writing a business plan, raising money, and then getting big as fast as possible. Instead, they made one small move. They rustled up some dresses, set up a dressing room on Harvard's campus before a big dance, and observed firsthand whether women would rent them. Then, one experiment after another, one step at a time, they built a large, successful public company. Sometimes you need to quickly ramp up your learning to blow away the fog that obscures the view of what to do next. Entrepreneurs face that challenge all the time. Research on the most effective startup accelerators demonstrates that the best way to help founders meet it is to make them talk with as many people from as many different backgrounds as quickly as possible, instead of keeping their ideas to themselves for fear that someone might steal them. Leading accelerators often force entrepreneurs to meet more than 200 people, some from seemingly unrelated backgrounds, in just 1 month. Number 4, sustain yourself. According to Ben Feringa, who won a Nobel Prize in chemistry for work on molecular machines that could one day power nanobots that repair the pipes in your house or keep diseases out of your blood, scientific discovery happens only after facing uncertainty. That means, he says, you have to get resilient at handling the frustration that comes with it. His approach includes both emotional hygiene, attending to the emotions much as you would a physical wound so that they don't turn into paralyzing self-doubt or unproductive rumination, and reality checks in which you recognize that failure is just part of the process. Feringa admits that failing hurts and that he allows himself to feel frustrated even for a few days. But then he stops and asks, what insights can I take away from this? What's the next step I can work on? Whether he realizes it or not, he's adopting one of the many lenses that can help people recast setbacks, such as the learning lens, what you can learn from them, the gratitude lens, what you still have, not what you lost, the timing lens, it's just not the right time now, but that doesn't mean it won't ever be, and our favorite, the challenge lens, you become the hero only by facing obstacles. Another practice that the scientists, creators, and entrepreneurs we've studied use to sustain themselves is to focus on the people and things that have meaning for them. You can get through anything, Not just the fear of potential losses, but the pain of real ones, by holding tight to what really matters. In that article, we were given plenty of examples of how being resilient and facing the fear of the unknown often ends up in success. And often, or almost always, entrepreneurs, before they've made it rich or become successful, quote unquote, they've had to overcome many challenges when chasing their dreams or trying to accomplish their goals, whether that's in a job, a business, a relationship. There's uncertainty in many aspects of our lives, and if we choose to run and hide, we ultimately are not going to give ourselves the opportunity to potentially overcome the situation and attain and gain greater things in our lives. There's a saying, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. I like that saying a lot because I play basketball, so it's very understandable, but anybody can interpret what it means. If you want to be the leading scorer in a game, you'll never be able to attain that if you're not willing to miss shots. Because if you're not willing to miss shots, you're too afraid to take shots. And if you're too afraid to take shots, then you can never make shots. So step one to being successful is being vulnerable to failure and to overcoming fear of the unknown. All right, so with that being said, the next thing I'm going to do is take the self-assessment to try and understand where my levels of fear are when it comes to uncertainty. Okay, so this assessment is known as the Intolerancy of Uncertainty Scale. You will find below a series of statements which describe how people may react to the uncertainties of life. Please use the scale below to describe to what extent each item is characteristic of you. Please circle a number 1 to 5 that describes you best. All right, so it's not describing it on this particular document, but the way this works is not to tally up your total score at the end, but rather it's to measure where you stand when it comes to each of these questions. And you can then determine if you need to make certain adjustments based on your responses. So it's beneficial for you to be as honest as possible when you're answering each question in order to get a proper assessment. All right, so I'm going to start here at my first question, and I'll just kind of work my way through answering as honestly as possible. Number 1, uncertainty stops me from having a firm opinion. No, I would put that at probably a number 2 for me. I wouldn't say I'm very uncertain about my opinions. I do often have opinions that others may not agree with, though. Number 2, being uncertain means that a person is disorganized. I wouldn't say being uncertain means that a person is disorganized. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say 1 for that. Uncertainty makes life intolerable. No, I would give that a 2. Uncertainty can make life challenging, but not intolerable. Number 4, it's unfair not having any guarantees in life. Well, life isn't fair, so that's not really relevant. Again, I would give that a 1. I don't believe that many things in life are fair. Number 5, my mind can't be relaxed if I don't know what will happen tomorrow. But I will give that probably a 2. It doesn't weigh on me too heavily. 3 at the most. Number 6, uncertainty makes me uneasy, anxious, or stressed. Again, a number 2. It depends on what I'm uncertain about, but for the most part, I wouldn't say I deal with a lot of uncertainty that causes stress. Number 7, unforeseen events upset me greatly. I would say that's more relevant to someone who gets their hopes up. I would say I'm more the opposite. I tend to prepare for the worst. Hope for the best, but kind of prepare for the worst. So I would give that a 1. Number 8, it frustrates me not having all the information I need. I would give that one closer to a 2 or a 3. I do like to be informed on something that I know I have to get done. So if I know there's something that I need certain information for, it can be frustrating if I'm not receiving that information. So let's go with a 3 on that one. Uncertainty keeps me from living a full life. No, definitely not. Still willing to take risk even if I'm not sure where it will take me. Number 10, one should always look ahead so as to avoid surprises. I would say I'll give that a 2. Just because, yeah, if you can see where you're going and there's information for that, definitely make use of that. But sometimes you're not going to have all the information, so that is sometimes unavoidable. But I'll give it a 2. Number 11, a small unforeseen event can spoil everything, even with the best of planning. Things happen, things change. You should actually expect that. The only thing in life you can expect is change, I would say. So, number 12, when it's time to act, uncertainty paralyzes me. No, if it's time to act, I'm going to get right to it. So, that's a 1. That's not a characteristic for me. Being uncertain means that I'm not first rate. I'll give that a 1 because uncertainty can help you grow in many ways. And just because you're not there right now doesn't mean that you're not on your way. 14. When I am uncertain, I can't go forward. No, that's not true. Number 15. When I'm uncertain, I can't function very well. Again, a number 1. There's methods you can use to overcome when you feel uncertain, and that can help you function through those situations. Number 16. Unlike me, others always seem to know where they are going with their lives. Even though social media things may lead us to believe that, I mean, none of us are completely certain what will happen. There's so many things that can happen from day to day that certainty is uncertain. So I'll give that a 1. Number 17, uncertainty makes me vulnerable, unhappy, or sad. It can also make you excited. It's a perspective thing, and I would also give that a 1. Next, I always want to know what the future has in store for me. I'll give that a 2 just because, yes, it would be nice to know, but that's not really reality. Number 19, I can't stand being taken by surprise. 1 again. I do ultimately want to be in control of what happens in my own life, but you can navigate through surprises. Number 20, the smallest doubt can stop me from acting. Again, a 1. I would say I'm pretty self-disciplined, self-motivated, so that's not a factor for me. Number 21, I should be able to organize everything in advance. Let's give that a 2. I do like to be organized knowing that I'm going into a situation prepared, but there's sometimes things that you're not going to know until you're in the situation. Number 22, being uncertain means that I lack confidence. I'll give that a 2 just because I think naturally the more certain you become, the more natural confidence you will gain from that. But you can still have confidence, especially if you have resources and support in situations that you may have uncertainty. Number 24, uncertainty keeps me from sleeping soundly. I would give that one a 1, maybe a 2. I can sleep pretty well, and even with uncertainty, I normally can compartmentalize things and, try, as they say, not bring the work home with me. So I have dealt with that in the past, though, where stressful situations of unknown circumstances have kept me from getting a good night's sleep. Number 25, I must get away from all uncertain situations. Again, number 1, I don't think that's realistic. Number 25, I must get away from all uncertain situations. I give that a 1 just because that's unrealistic. 26, the ambiguities in life stress me out. Maybe sometimes, so a 2. And lastly, I can't stand being undecided about my future. No, that's part of the excitement of life. always changing and being willing to embrace an uncertain future. So I think overall, I scored pretty low on almost all these questions. Um, so I think that puts me at a pretty low level of fear when it comes to uncertainty or unknown. So I guess that would mean that my tolerance for uncertainty is probably between average to high. I would consider myself a person who's can tolerate uncertainty pretty well. All right, so let's get into the last article. The last article is titled How Fear of the Unknown Influences Decision Making, and it's in Psychology Today. The dictionary definition of uncertainty is experiencing an unknown, unpredictability, and unfamiliarity. We live in a world filled with uncertainty. It is hard to predict what will happen to us in the future. The capacity to tolerate unknowns fuel the experience of anxiety and worry. Individuals with high intolerance of uncertainty are vulnerable to increased worry and distress in the face of uncertainty. Experiencing what if questions are common among those who experience severe anxiety, which is a source of impairments in their lives. Anxiety is an emotion caused by unpredictable potential threats that may occur in the future. Anxiety is potential harm rather than certain harm. Uncertainty impairs our ability to prepare for future events. Anxiety felt in the face of uncertainty can result in maladaptive behaviors such as impulsive decision making and unhealthy behaviors. Intolerance of uncertainty is a cognitive bias that affects how a person perceives, interprets, and responds to uncertain situations. For example, if you have social anxiety, you are uncertain how you may look asking a question. The negative experience of uncertainty could lead you to exaggerate the threat. For example, I'm going to look stupid and will be humiliated. People who are the most intolerant of uncertainty are more likely to take efforts to try to control the situation or avoid uncertainty. This explains why a shy student may not volunteer to ask questions. Higher IU or intolerance of uncertainty is associated with a tendency to make hasty decisions to alleviate distress in stressful situations. Waiting in uncertain situations tend to be perceived as highly unpleasant, leading to poor choices. Not surprisingly, IU has been linked to indecisiveness. Higher IU is a risk factor for developing an addiction if substance abuse is used as a way of coping in the face of unavoidable uncertainty. For example, drinking alcohol is used as an avoidance strategy to cope with worry and distress. Those who have the tendency to find uncertain outcomes distressing and unpleasant are likely to find alcohol use to be highly motivating, which sets the stage for continued and escalated drinking. IU can also lead to an eating disorder in attempts to control the anxiety. For instance, women with anorexia nervosa experience significantly higher degrees of IU compared to women with other types of eating disorders. Food restriction in anorexia nervosa may, in part, represent an attempt to avoid the fear of gaining weight and/or obsession with thinness. Thus, the fear of the unknown in individuals with anorexia nervosa represents a vulnerability factor for the inflexible mindset. The capacity to tolerate unknowns is likely to be determined and maintained by a complex interplay of many factors, such as genes, temperament, and self-efficacy. Intolerance to uncertainty is a personality trait that runs in the family. A meta-analysis found that 40% of individual differences in personality traits have genetic origins. It is possible that genetic factors predispose one to develop IU. These genes may also interact with environmental factors such as stressful life events, parental neglect, and abusive parenting styles. The intolerance of uncertainty also varies with control or self-efficacy. Control can be thought of as the belief that one has at one's disposal, a response that can influence the aversiveness of an event. People with high levels of fear of unknowns will likely have limited perceptions of self-efficacy and a greater need for predictability. In sum, the presence of uncertainty is often unpleasant, and individuals' reactions vary along a continuum in terms of the extent to which they are comfortable with uncertainty. Research shows that treatments designed to increase acceptance of uncertainty and exposure to uncertainty are successful in increasing tolerance for uncertainty. So, that final article got into some of the more serious conditions we may face when we do not resolve our fear of the unknown. Some of those conditions being alcoholism and anorexia, which have been shown to be highly linked to, or one of the factors that can contribute to that being the inability to process or help deal with the fear of the unknown in a healthy way. So then that then helps us understand the importance of dealing with our fear when it comes to the unknown. The benefits of approaching that with courage and using different methods and modalities to keep our bodies in a state of homeostasis, even in the fear of the unknown or uncertainty of our lives. I recommend taking that assessment for yourself. And again, be as honest as possible when you answer the questions. And if you find yourself on the higher ends, a 3 through a 5 when you're answering a lot of those questions, you may need to seek methods for helping to change that and control it. Again, whether that is talking to a friend, having a group of people, a support group of some kind, or even a psychiatrist or a psychologist that can help you in that way. Or even if it's just meditation or thoughtfulness, mindfulness, being present in the moment to help regulate breathing, to help maintain your heart rate and your blood pressure and things like that. That will all help not only regulate how you feel emotionally and mentally, but physically as well in moments that can be high stressful due to the unknown factors. I think it's important to realize that we cannot fully map out and plan out our lives and prepare for every situation. We have to become more comfortable with unknown situations and responding in the moment, and why it's important to be present and be able to clearly think and breathe in moments that can become highly stressful. So, with that being said, that'll wrap up this episode of the Infinite Moment podcast, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.